Okay. And are you more leaning in the camp of Michigan making the 12-team playoff than not? And if so, or if not, what games besides Ohio State are you circling thinking this is going to determine it for them?
So let me go back to something that you said about the way Michigan's going to play on offense and how much Kirk Campbell's going to call passing plays and what that ratio is going to look like and how open they're going to be. I think that while we all know all the obvious advantages to playing an easy non-conference schedule, the advantage to playing a difficult non-conference game like they will is that they're going to come out of that game and know who they are. They're going to have a much better knowledge of who they are against national competition. Therefore, I think that's going to not dictate, but it's going to give them a lean toward, well, did we survive in this game and win 30-27 and Quinn Ewers gave us 3 gifts and we survived and our defense isn't quite what we thought it was, or whatever that narrative is coming out of the game. And then they will be able to adapt to know how much can we trust the quarterback, how good is our offensive line and running game, how good is the defense. We know it's good. It's going to be really good. But is it great? Is it near what it was last year? All of those things. I think that they can take that forward then and know a little bit better what they want their identity to be in that way. Now, when it comes to the 12-team playoff, I don't understand this discarding of Michigan by certain people in any way, shape, or form. I think
do.
they're going to be in the
Called
running for the
Michigan State
playoff.
and Ohio State fans. That's what it's called.
Uh, I guess I think that there are other people out there that have no dog in the hunt that seem to just think that, well, if you lost your quarterback, you lost one of the best coaches in college football and you got 13 guys drafted, then you must not, and you are in the 10 to 15 range in recruiting and not a top 3 or 4 recruiting power, then they just, and it makes sense. If you said that about most programs, you just lost the top 10 quarterback in the NFL draft. You're replacing him with a nobody who's proven anything. You've got a head coach who's arguably the best in college football. You lost him and you lost 13 players to the NFL draft, and you're not a recruiting giant like Georgia or Alabama. How good are you going to be this year? And it's an improved Big Ten.
Yeah, but I think a lot of people in those camps. Okay, the improved Big Ten is legitimate, but I haven't seen too many people weigh heavily into that. I think most of those people in those camps have been doubters of Michigan this whole time. I not all, but I mean, Michigan hasn't been a great, an elite recruiting power this entire run. And a lot of those people who probably say Michigan isn't going to make the playoffs this time around probably were saying J.J. McCarthy's not a championship winning quarterback, which I'm not crushing them at the time. Fine. If you want to believe that, that's okay. But I don't know. I think most of those people just are, I don't want to say haters. That's a little strong, but they're doubters now and they were doubters before. I guess that's kind of all I'm saying. Not everybody. I'm sure there's a few, but if you look under the hood, you can pretty quickly see that the traditional requirements to win a national championship, Michigan is a bit different and did it differently.
Yes.
So
true.
That's all I'm saying.
I'm looking at the schedule and I see it this way. That any team in the Big Ten or the SEC, especially a team that's playing Texas in the non-conference, that goes 10-2 is obviously in. 9-3, you could get in if you're impressive. If you are playing the best teams in the country, i.e., if that's Texas, Oregon, and Ohio State, and they live up to expectations, even if you lose a couple of those games, if you are playing them well, that's a huge consideration. It's not just the record. It's going to be if they go 9-3 and let's say they trip, I think it may even be, let's say USC is good. Let's say USC is 9-3 good. And they lose 3 out of those 4 games. but they perform well in all the games, they could reach the playoffs. I just think that they are they are probably a 75% certainty to 80% of beating USC. And then the other three games are in the toss up range. And so I don't see them losing all three of those games.
Yeah. Yeah, I think right now I would predict. Oh, it's tough. 9-3. I'm gonna guess 10-2 at this point. I think they're gonna get one of the big three: Oregon, Texas, Ohio State. In fact, I actually think if they do go 9-3, I don't think those are going to be the three teams they lost to, because they do. I'm pretty certain they'll beat Washington, but it's still a road game. It's still a tough place to play. So yeah, we'll see. They don't play Penn State. Penn State's, don't they have kind of a cupcake schedule this year? A bit.
Penn State. Well, let's see. That rings a bell. I believe you're correct in that. But
I think they play Oregon. Is that their toughest game?
Penn State has in the Big Ten, Iowa at home, at Ohio State, Michigan. Oh, I'm sorry. No. Sorry. Looking at last year. In the Big Ten, at USC, at Wisconsin, Ohio State at home.
Washington.
Yeah, I'm not a big believer in Washington. I'm going to have to see it. Jedd Fisch is a good coach.
I'm not saying I'm certain Michigan will win that game. I'm just saying traveling across the country, it's there's reason to not think that that's just going to be a walk in the park, but that's just me. Maybe Michigan will blow them out. But yeah, really, if you look at Penn State's schedule, the only two games they should be in danger here would be USC and Ohio State.
At Wisconsin?
Is it Van Dyke?
Yes.
Is he there? Is he expected to take a step forward? Or I haven't tracked Wisconsin very closely, so I couldn't say.
I will tell you this. I trust the Wisconsin coaching staff and culture above Miami at this point. So if he can get fixed, then I will take him at Wisconsin over Miami.
That's a low bar, though. Do you trust Wisconsin's coaching staff over Penn State's coaching staff? I mean, Miami's an incredibly low bar. Haven't they had like top 6 recruiting classes the last 3 years, and they stink? Like that's almost been malpractice what they've been doing down there.
Well, we'll see if they stink this year, but you're right. I trust Luke Fickell over James Franklin, not by a ton.
What do you think of the Tom Allen?
Oh, I think Tom Allen is a really good pickup. I don't know that he's better than Manny Diaz, though. Manny Diaz is one of the best defensive coordinators in college football.
Interesting. Statistically, or like do you actually think in game he's really good?
Oh, I think he's really good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's what got him a head coaching job now twice.
He's a bit aggressive at the wrong times, but every DC has that here and there. Okay. And then lastly, first of all, I'll go down on the record saying I think Michigan's going to beat Texas. One of the reasons why I'm banking on it is because I think Michigan's defense, like their ceiling, I think is actually going to be. I don't think they'll be as consistent throughout the year. There's a couple reasons for that. I think by the end of the year, their depth will have developed enough where they'll be close to what they were this last year. But I think their star power is going to be better. And I also think the thing I can't get over about that game is, and you can tell me if you disagree with this, but if a guy like Michael Penix and I'm not saying this is, you can poke holes in this, but this is just my thought process. A guy like Michael Penix, cool, calm, and collected all year last year, except for there was one game, was it against Arizona State? There was a weird game he had where he played bad. I think it was on the road against a terrible team.
Yes.
And
Arizona State at home.
yeah, okay. So yeah. But for the most part, cool, calm, and collected, even under pressure, which we saw against Texas. If Michigan can make him panic, which I think they did. Okay, some people are going to say, well, he had his ankle knocked, he was partially injured and all this. And yeah, okay, fine. That played a part in it, but he was clearly rattled. Like some of his decision making was bad. And I don't know. I think Quinn Ewers, he seems to me very prone to making some just ditzy decisions, especially if you can get him under pressure. Like he'll throw up some balls where you're just like, what are you doing? At least for me. I'm not saying he's bad or anything, but I just can't get over. Now, if Texas' offensive line holds up, which I'm assuming, aren't they? They should
They
have
have a great offensive line.
Yeah. So it'll come down to that. But I can't get over Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant because I don't know. That's a different animal. And I think if those guys can get pressure up the middle and push that pocket right into his lap like they did against Michael Penix, and Washington's offensive line last year wasn't a slouch, obviously, Joe Moore. I don't know. I could easily see Quinn Ewers throwing 3 picks in that game. And if Michigan gets pressure with their defense, I think it's going to be over early. And I don't know. So that's my thought. I could be wrong. Maybe Texas's offensive line holds up, And if Texas jumps out to an early lead, then it's going to be tough. But
well, practically the sole reason why Texas is a 3 or 4 point favorite, something like that, is because Quinn Ewers is back and JJ McCarthy is not back. If JJ McCarthy was back and Texas was replacing Quinn Ewers, then you would see a complete reversal of that, even more so on Michigan's side.
Okay.
So that's what I believe, that's what Vegas is banking on. Not that Texas doesn't have a complete team and have really good pieces elsewhere, but they are, at least until proven otherwise, they have lost 2 of the best interior defensive linemen to the NFL draft. Michigan will try to pound them first and foremost.
Yeah. Yeah, that's gonna be a fun matchup. That's I'm really looking forward to that. No cupcake schedule this year, so that's great. Well, except, I mean, yeah, I'm not gonna go there, but